Martin was back with us today. Very happy that he was back. He's in our team meeting. And it was a scary moment, obviously. And for Khalid to be back with us, don't know how long it's going to be. But all the scans, all the x-rays, all the imaging have been positive. Now it's just a matter of returning and how long that takes. But thankful to God and all the health and safety and medical teams that were a part of that situation. We say thanks to them and Virginia Tech staff. As you know, Tayshawn Smith is now out for the year with his other shoulder. And so Tay will help us at practice, be a part of what we're doing as far as helping the guys mentally. We do expect to have Peyton back with us, full go, and Tanner, we're hopeful. But as far as the game goes, it always starts with me, and we did not perform to the way that we thought we would. And so got to do a better job preparing our team. We knew it would be a game of adjustments, not knowing, with all the things that were out there, who might play, who might coach. We knew they had a new defensive coordinator, so, not having film on them, we knew it would be a first quarter where we needed to hang in there and get used to what they were going to do and adjust accordingly, and didn't feel like we did a good job there as a staff or the guys even handling some of that. And so, for me, it's an opportunity to learn from that situation. It's a loss for sure, but it's also an opportunity to get better. And so as a staff, as a team, we knew it was a game where we needed to win on the road with turnover margin and be like we were on the line of scrimmage the previous week, and we were not. Virginia Tech beat us up front, with 6 sacks in our backfield. Then we turned the football over twice at quarterback, and because of that, had a tough start. Defensively did not stop the run, and I felt like for us to be good on defense, we need to be disruptive. We need to be in the backfield. We need to create takeaways, and those things did not take place, obviously, in the game. I thought our specialist, Chris Dunn, hit his career-long 53-yard field goal. Was great for him to get that. Everything about it, the snap, hold, protection, kick. Trent Gill, 47-yard net. Thayer had a good punt return for us. And so those were good things that happened in the game. But, as a staff, it's obviously an opportunity with this football team to learn, to grow, and to continue to fight and grow from an experience that obviously we don't want to relive. And we'll do that. These are experienced coaches. They're great young men. They're prideful young men that care a lot about each other and this university. And we all hate losing, But more than that, it's about giving ourselves an opportunity to win and being physical and going out there and competing for 4 quarters and being coachable and doing a good job with adjustments. So this week, it's all about overcoming what we just went through, moving on, and having a great day. We did this morning with our meetings. Guys have had a good workout, and look forward to getting in there with our trainers, see where we're at, and prepare for our practices that'll start tomorrow. But it's a long season, and there's a lot of opportunities in front of us. And I know this team has been through a lot, and they will fight and stick together and fight even harder. Offensively, I do think we ran the football efficiently. I thought our backs were physical, and we had 1 negative play in the backfield in the run game. The rest of them were very efficient runs and some explosive runs. Our red zone offense continues to score. And I thought, Devin came in off the bench and moved our offense and scored a couple drives for us. On defense, our third down defense was something we wanted to improve and did. But it starts with stopping the run, and that's an area, obviously not having Peyton and Tanner hurts, but schematically we've got to do a better job and players just shedding blocks and holding edges and tackling. So a lot to work on and look at it as a great opportunity to do that. So we head into this week against Pitt. Pat Narduzzi does a really good job with this football team. He's got an experienced staff, and they're a very physical, experienced team. They play complementary football. Offensively, Mark Whipple's a really good football coach. Known him a while. I've coached against him, and is very creative. Uses a lot of formations, tackle over formations, motions. Has good receivers, good backs. I think their quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is a really good football player, 66% completion rate. He's played a lot, 31-game starter, very accurate, mobile. I think a very underrated quarterback. Has a good receiving core. Freshman Addison is electric and 21 catches. They've got a bunch of backs they bring in, and the Davises and their freshmen who played a lot in the last game is a physical guy, and I think they're all different from each other, and they do a good job behind the offensive line, and probably the best center in the conference, if not the country, and Morrissey leading their offensive line. They've only given up 2 sacks. Their defense is fast. They're disruptive. They pressure, press coverage. They're only giving up 10 points a game and 177 yards per game, 17 sacks in 3 games, and 34 tackles for loss, and they've created 6 interceptions. They've got a lot of defensive linemen. They rotate. Charlie Partridge coaches them and does a great job with those guys. And, whether it's Jones or Weaver or Cansey or Desir Alexander or Danielson, they've got a crew that they rotate that are disruptive. Ford and Hamlin and Pennick have played a lot of football for them in the secondary. And then their linebackers and nickels all do a good job, and they're used in their blitz game. And they do a good job disguising. They're going to put a lot of guys in the box. They're going to force you to throw against press coverage. And special teams wise, they've got a very experienced special teams coordinator. He's been there a long time with Pat. Their punter's averaging 43 yards and does a nice job there. So, great challenge for us and a great opportunity just to get back on the field and get better. And so look forward to that and see if there's any questions here.
All right. Jonas Pope, what do you have for Coach?
Good morning, Coach. I hope all is well. Good afternoon. Hope all is well. When we talked over the summer, you talked about how you felt this team had matured. Is part of that, are you kind of looking forward to see this week how they bounce back from their first loss, bounce back from adversity? Is that part of their maturation process?
Yeah, it is for sure. And, it's a team we knew, like I've told many times, the youth, we're still very young on defense, but the youth of our team blending back in with the returners. And in some cases, those returners are back. As you see, C.J. Riley had an impact. Tyrone Riley's playing a lot of football on offense. But defensively, we didn't have some of those guys back. And so you got to see some guys playing. Ashford played a lot and then had to come out. And then Khalid went in and got hurt. And then Devin Boykin was playing. So we're still going through the growing part of the chemistry. But I do think handling a win in week 1 and now handling a loss in week 2, they're 2 different opportunities. They're 2 totally different scenarios, and you're getting a lot of different feedback as a player, publicly and privately about those things and how do you handle that, and so for us, it is an opportunity to face adversity here early in the season and look forward to seeing how they respond.
How do they handle or respond to losses last year when they were a little bit way younger than they are now?
Yeah. Last year, I think guys were just trying to play. They were just trying to, what plays are we running? How do I do that again? I mean, it was a different lineup every game. There's just so many guys that were just out of high school on the field and didn't have a lot of game experience to draw from. I mean, you do see Malik Dunlap playing so much better than he played a year ago because of all those games he had, right? And so he's playing with more confidence. And so you're seeing that growth in players like him. Jordan Houston, Bam Knight, guys that played a lot last year. And once we get Peyton back out there, Drake is playing hard. You see those guys playing with more confidence. Last year, I think they would tell you they were just trying to understand what to do. And now I think it's more they know the defense or the offense, and they're just trying to play fast.
Aaron Beard.
Hey, Dave. Obviously, Devin's situation was pretty unusual with all the time he lost, even though he was expected to be the guy. How much progress has he made kind of to this point? You got your first game look at him last week, and what stood out on the film about his play as well as Bailey's?
Well, I think Devin has worked hard, obviously disappointed with the circumstances he had and understood it and battled back through it and prepared well last week, practiced well and got in the game. And I thought he threw the football well. He was decisive. He operated the offense the way that Coach Beck would like him to do it. And he was into the game. We got in a situation where Bailey had thrown his second interception and you could tell that he just wasn't in it. and nothing against him. I mean, he battles, he's tough, all those things, but sometimes it's just not going your way, and we needed to spark the offense, and thought Devin gave us an opportunity there to see how he was and where he was at. So like I said last week, we need them both. We're both going to get reps this week, and we'll see who's the most ready to lead our team this weekend.
Thanks, Dave.
Corey Smith.
Hey, Dave, looking down the depth chart, seeing that Rakeem Ashford, first of all, is not listed on there. Is there on his status?
Yeah, I mean, it's a day-to-day thing. So, we'll just have to see where he ends up. But if we were to play today, he would not go. So just going to have to see how he responds. He's had a shoulder since back in junior college, and sometimes it bothers him, sometimes it doesn't. So we're just going to have to see where he ends up. But I know he's rehabbing and doing everything he can.
And you mentioned Devin Boykin earlier, but Aiden White also listed as a backup at that left corner spot. Just your thoughts on the two of them and what they've done throughout the offseason to kind of earn those roles.
Well, both of them are mature. They come to work every day, the great attitude. They're consistent. They learn well. I mean, Devin's learned multiple positions, strong and free. And, I think both of them have really bright futures here. Aiden was starting on our punt return unit at corner last week, did a really nice job. He's made plays in practice. Was our fifth corner going into the first game, and obviously with Tayshawn out and Chris Ingram out, that just elevates him that way. And he's a guy we're excited about. And I think, being consistent every day for a freshman is a hard thing. It's just such a transition from high school to college. And those two guys just have been able to do that. They've come in, and every single day they're organized, they pay attention, they work hard, you know what you're going to get. And with the guys like that, you can continue to help them get better each day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brett Friedlander.
Dave, last week you talked about how the problems on defense, a lot of them were correctable. And I was wondering, how disappointed were you that a lot of them were still being made this week? And how big of a fix is this?
I think the problems we had were different. I didn't feel like the run game in this game was external on the edges, and that's where the problems were in the first week. We were out of our gaps at times inside. I don't think, as coaches, we've got to do a really good job of helping our guys, and we got a little bit less diverse, I think, in what we do in that game, because we didn't know with the quarterback scenario what were they going to be. They were very different from what they were a year ago with all the motions and things. We worked so hard on all these jet motions and all the things that they were going to be doing, and it wasn't that. And it's a lot more quarterback-based run game, just straight ahead at you. And so we've just got to do a good job of settling in with the guys, and Coach Gibson's defense is about being versatile. It's about changing the looks and having disguise and blitzing, and got away from that. I think Tony would tell you he was disappointed in what he did in the game. I know he wants to pressure more. He wants to move the guys around more, and we got a little bit, just be where you're at, and that wasn't good for our guys. So, we got to help them more. I think that falls on me and the staff first, and then the kids have just got to do a good job executing what we call.
Are they in a better situation this week moving forward to execute what you want them to do, knowing what they're going to face? Is that a lot of the issue?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think in week one, it wasn't that we were in bad defenses. We, again, had guys in the right gaps, and with Wake Forest's slow mesh offense, guys got impatient. If you watch that film, you'll see a guy on the edge, and he thinks the ball's going inside, and he ducks inside, and the ball goes out. So it wasn't a function of what we were calling. It was more of a function of the patience and the discipline required to defend what they do. Last week's game, I felt the other way around. I felt like, we just were kind of playing catch up the whole game, and when we did get them in third down, we stopped them, but there was just too many explosive runs, and you can't give up 300 yards rushing and win a football game. It's impossible when you turn it over like we did. So there's a lot of things we got to work on. I think getting Peyton back is a helpful part of that. Our top two tacklers are Peyton and Tanner, and we missed them in a run-heavy game. So the personnel piece does function into that. But the guys that are in there have to be able to make the plays, and we have to put them in position to make the plays first.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Aaron Beard, do you have another one?
Yeah, Dave, a lot of coaches have talked about all the lost reps and conditioning and training and everything from the off season. I'm curious, how much of a concern is conditioning for you guys right now between that, along with, as you've discussed before, all the time lost in August with contact tracing and so forth?
The conditioning is really per player. So the guys that missed a lot of time are the guys that you worry about. The guys that didn't are in good shape. And so it's more along the lines of who was out for 14 days or 20 days, whatever the case may be. When it comes to missing, practice time and missing reps and all that, it matters a lot when you have a young football team. Every rep is a critical rep. You don't know what that one rep is that's going to make something click. And when it comes to muscle memory, it takes a lot of repetitive days of work to get that muscle memory. And so it is an impact. I think if you're a veteran team, it's easier. Those guys have banked reps, they have game experience. It's easier to overcome it. Still, as a coach, you would like to have that time with those guys. But when you're talking about a freshman compared to a redshirt junior, that's a lot of reps that are not there, and so every rep you miss in those situations is a rep that hurts you.
To follow up on that, with the guys that, when you said it's a per player basis, with the guys maybe that are a little bit behind with conditioning, how do you sort of balance trying to make that up and getting them as well as you can, but keeping them fresh at the same time and not over pushing them? I imagine that's a balancing act you've got to do now.
Well, if you have a rotation, that's how you manage it. You rotate those guys and keep them fresh. If you don't, it's a lot more challenging. And so the practice piece is important, that you're seeing the volume that they have at practice, because you don't want to burn the candle at both ends and then you have soft tissue injury. And so you have to rotate. You have to. And I think if you have that luxury, I should say, you have to be able to rotate guys.
Thank you.
Jonas, you have another one?
Yeah, Coach, you were just talking about balancing, and I wanted to ask, you said you have things you guys want to correct on defense, things you've seen from your own team, watching film, but you also have to at some point move forward to Pittsburgh, and what do they do? How do you balance that throughout the week, making sure we correct our stuff first before we move on to what we need to do next week against our opponent?
Yeah, it's a great question. So normally we'd play on a Saturday and the guys would come in Sunday afternoon, and we would go through the game with them as a team, go through the special teams with them, and then offense, defense would talk to them as units and go through those things. We'd watch the film, and then we'd walk through the corrections that need to be made. And then the next day they're off, and then we start the next team. And within the individual sections of practice, if there's things that carry over, then you're working on those corrections continued through your individual and trying to make an action plan to help them. With us not getting home till almost 5 a.m. From Virginia Tech the other night, Sunday was their off day. So today we did those things this morning, and then tomorrow we'll move on to Pitt.
Do you ever get to a point, have you ever been to a point, though, with a young team or with any team where you get to that day where typically you would cut off and move towards the next team, but you're like, we still have mistakes as a team, we need to make sure we correct before we move on?
Yeah, I think there's plays that happen. I think everyone in this business copycats things, and if there's things you're not doing well, it's going to show up in the next game if you don't correct it. So you'll card, those plays and run them. Even though Pitt may not run a play that Virginia Tech ran, we'll run them again and just make sure the guys have got that fixed. I think you have to understand that your problems don't just eliminate themselves in one film session, And so if it's a schematical thing, then you're spending your time on it from a scheme standpoint. If it's a fundamental thing, then you're drilling those fundamentals. And if it's an 11-on-11 play where everyone needs to be a part of it, then you're running that play against the offense or defense to make sure they've got it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
JB Ricks.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking out the time. I was just curious to know, with this being the COVID-19 age and you guys having your first true road game last week, what did you learn from the restrictions that you guys have to work through when it comes to traveling, and how will you apply whatever it is you may have learned that you can do better on your way up to Pittsburgh this week?
Well, this is a different trip than the last one we bussed. And so, on a bus trip, you're taking, for us, it was 8 buses to spread out 80 players and staff. so that we had enough space between us on the bus and sitting, within the bus with guys that would not contact trace you out. So whoever your roommate might be and different things like that. This is a flight, so this one will be different that way on how we go. This will be our first flight of this period. So we'll have to see, but there really isn't a lot of carryover on the travel piece just because we're going a different way.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? All right, Justin Williams, you want to finish us off?
Hey, Coach. In game one, the offensive line gave up 1 sack, and then Saturday gave up 6 sacks to Virginia Tech. After the game, you were asked about it, and you said you wanted to watch the film before you made your conclusions on the pass rush and pass blocking. So what were your takeaways, and how does that improve against the stout defensive line in Pittsburgh on Saturday?
Yeah, I think in this game, we had 7 different offensive linemen play, and each of them lost a pass rush that ended up being a quarterback pressure or a sack. And so some of it is just pass rush fundamentals. They did have a scheme on one of their blitzes where we did not have a linebacker picked up, and he scraped over the top and made a nice play. So schematically, they got us on a play. And then there's times where the quarterback's hot, and there's going to be an unblocked player, and you have to get rid of the football. So, just looking at what we need to do, each guy just got beat. As you guys know, that other team is on scholarship too, and at times they win. We got to do everything we can to play with better fundamentals. Sometimes, whether it's a speed rush or you overset or you're too aggressive or your hand placement, there's just little things that happen. And Pittsburgh's got a really good defensive line, and their backers come hard, their nickels, their corners. So, it's going to be a great opportunity to face a really good defense. And I know our offensive linemen take a lot of pride in protecting the quarterback, and so they'll work really hard this week to shore that up and face the challenge that we're going to have.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Y'all have a good